Good afternoon, ladies and gents. It is I, Jake, and Drake, and we are here on the Jake and Drake show. We're actually trying out a new format. Um, Drake had a couple good ideas, and you know we're gonna roll with those good ideas. Hopefully, you give us your feedback in the comments with a like, dislike, and what we can do better. So Drake, I'm gonna let Drake start it off with his Ugh,
Well,
I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say, Drake. You take
we
it.
were we were just talking and figuring, thinking of ways of making adding lasting value. And I think, if we just sit and bullshit and talk about whatever different topics and go from there.
Mm-hmm. So,
So I guess we had talked about. I guess this week our main topic will be music and such. So let's start with asking Jake a question, which is, what are your favorite bands?
so when we go favorite bands, are we going like, do we have like a top five, top three?
I don't know. Just
Let's.
name a couple off the top of your head. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite bands?
Well, dude, I can't really favorite songs for me actually reflect like my dynamic personality. I'll just go with the bands. The bands would be pretty easy. I'm not gonna rank them, but although I am a Corn fan, I've been a little disappointed by kind of their last couple albums. But I like Corn. I like Avenged Sevenfold. I like Atreyu. I like Trivium, and I like Breaking Benjamin. How many is that? Breaking Benjamin, Corn, Avenged Sevenfold, Atreyu, and Trivium. So that's five. There's quite a few more that I like, but those are the five off the top of my head. What are your top five in no particular order?
Uh, well, I back in the day I did like Corn, but again, like you said, they've changed so dramatically much that it's just not appealing to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, probably because I grew up from being at the angsty youth,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, definitely Tool is number one. Um, and you laugh, I know,
I
and
said
I
no
know we're gonna
particular.
come.
I said no particular order, and you're like Tool, Tool number one.
Well,
I
just
just
that's the one that comes to my head first,
oh god.
and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Tool, Nine Inch Nails.
Oh, dude, fuck, fuck. Okay, that
You
was one
forgot
of my.
Nine Inch Nails.
I did. I did. Remember, I don't know if you could tell, but I'm burnt and I am dehydrated, and now I'm getting drunk, so things will happen. But yeah, Tool, Nine Inch Nails. Go ahead. Sorry.
Tool, Nine Inch Nails. I'm not gonna name all the different Tool variants, like
I mean, you
a
could
perfect.
technically they
Yeah, yeah. I guess they're different bands and they're
they are
different styles.
different genres for
Um,
sure.
uh, Three Teeth. It's
Three
a smaller band.
Three Teeth. I've never
Uh,
heard of them.
Industrial. I'll play something for you sometime, but industrial metal, kind of like the earlier Nine Inch Nails or Ministry, um, which coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, I first heard of them when they opened for Tool on tour,
How long ago was
and was just
this?
blown away. This was several years ago when I was still in California, so 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years ago,
Hmm.
and oh, let's see what else. Slayer, one of my all-time favorites,
You are. I did know that. I knew Tool. I knew Nin, and I knew Slayer.
and Iron Maiden, probably.
Really?
Yep,
Iron Maiden. So,
was big into Iron Maiden back in the day, and
what do you think of
throughout their.
what do you think of Ozzy now?
Oh, I feel sorry for the guy.
I do too,
He,
dude.
he's he's a, he's a zombie ready to die, but sold his soul to the devil, and the devil is parading him around on a mannequin and collecting his paychecks.
Dude.
I think the devil's going by the name Sharon right now, but
Wow. Dude, the funny thing is like I I've I don't listen to Ozzy. He's all right. I understand like he was at one time like the biggest, rock star. But like hearing him now, it like you said, it's very sad. There's a couple Ozzy songs, like newer Ozzy songs, and they come on the radio, and like one of them's a slower song, and it's just like him singing like very sad lyrics, like just sad, and it's like, oh my. And then there's another song he has, and I don't know who's in his band, but he, it's like, I want you to picture this. I want you to picture, Darian, that you're like in your 20s and you're really good at playing the guitar. Okay, if Ozzy Osbourne, like as iconic as he used to be, asked you to come like be in his band, you'd probably be like, fuck yeah, right? You'd be like, but then like you hear Ozzy wailing and screaming, and then all you can do is when they cut to you, you just play like, and so that's what I hear. I hear him like just out of it, and you're just like slamming this. So you hear like this badass guitar in the background, and you just hear Ozzy just kind of like wailing, and it's just, yeah, it's sad. It really is.
Well, the dude's 71 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and still being propped up out on stage. He deserves his rest. And fuck, man, the life he led with just drugs and alcohol. He's been through, a lot of abuse, self-inflicted abuse,
Mm.
and what he's got Parkinson's now too,
He
or
d-
something. Parkinson's or Alzheimer's or
he
uh,
oh, I gotta look this up. Keep talking.
but I mean, let the poor guy retire is what it comes down to. I know a big part of it is, this is Sharon's time. She put up with his,
Mm.
partying and philandering and so on for years and years, and stuck by him. Giving her credit, she stuck by him through all those times. But let the poor guy retire. He just wants to rest, be a grandpa, enjoy his kids and life, and
Damn, dude. Yeah.
yeah,
January 21, he broke his silence on Parkinson's. So,
Parkinson's, and
yeah, that's, wow. Wow, isn't that the same disease that Michael J. Fox had, right? That was Parkinson's?
still has. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think he died yet, did he?
No, no, he's not. He hasn't passed, but no, I mean, oof. Except
Yeah, just
except Ozzy
let.
was fortunate that he has the mild form at 71, and Fox got it like what, like in his like early 40s.
I think it was before then. I mean, he was. I think he was struggling with it in his like late 20s or 30s or something. But yeah, I mean, I never was. I had a lot of respect for Black Sabbath as one of the pioneers for metal, but I never, I wouldn't say I was ever a really huge fan of theirs, or a huge fan of Ozzy's. I mean, he's had great musicians that came in, um, you know, notably Zach Wild, who's still out and about. But then you can't forget Randy Rhoads, who tragically died young. And then there's some that people forget about, like Jake E. Lee, who was there for a lot of the heyday. So I've got a lot of respect for the music and the musicians, but I couldn't ever say I was a big Ozzy fan. I don't know. You remember? I don't know if I ever told you, but several years ago, many years ago, I won this contest to be a roadie at Ozfest, and apparently in the whole
Wait,
whole history of the contest, we were the only one. I was the only one who actually demanded to be able to do roadie shit.
so you gotta
But
back up. Like, so what the hell did you have to do to get in the contest and like be
I,
considered?
I I was like the right caller or something like that to be entered in the contest to be the finalist or the winner.
Mm,
And we ended up doing these roadie competitions where they gave us a set of tasks like spooling up cables and separating M&Ms, taking all the green M&Ms out like Van Halen or whatever had in their rider was like no green M&Ms. We had to pull those out. We had to do, set up some speakers and stuff, and it was a timed event, and I won. And it was, the experience was fun. But again, I was the first winner. It was me and a guest, and my buddy from work at the time. came with me, and apparently the only ones who ever actually requested to do the roadie stuff. So I got to unload Slipknot's gear, do help pack the explosives and stuff, or the pyrotechnics for a
What year?
Ozzy show
What
or
year
Black
was
Sabbath.
this? What year was this?
2002, I want to say 2002 or 2003.
So this is after college.
Yeah, no, this is like before Mortuary College. This was just a contest I won.
So this was in
This was
2000. You know where I was in 2002? Just for reference,
high school.
I was graduating high school. I would have loved that job. I mean,
I, I wouldn't want to be a roadie for
no,
a
for what
career.
for one tour for like one touring season. Who was in the who
I
was in the lineup?
It was Black Sabbath with the headliners. Disturbed. I've got some
Ooh,
pictures somewhere.
Disturbed.
Uh, yeah, I got to escort David Draymond around to. He wanted to go walk around and like meet the fans and stuff. I got to be his escort.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Oh, Marilyn Manson, Slipknot.
My
Oh
goodness.
fuck,
What was the name of
those
this tour?
kids.
What was the name of the tour, by the way?
Ozfest.
Oh, so this is Ozfest 2002. All right, I'm gonna look it up.
It
Help
was
you
like,
out. Keep going.
um, there were those kids, and one of them died not too long ago.
Oh, Drowning Pool.
No, did someone from Drowning Pool die?
Well, the lead singer died
Oh,
on the
that
tour.
was a yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't remember what year that was, but I do remember. Let's see.
No, it was oh, kind of electronic, kind of rock, but not really much of either.
All right,
Fuck,
so
Lincoln Park.
well, that guy died way later. I thought you were talking like around that time.
Oh no, no, not around that time. Just I was just trying to remember who they were, but they were like just starting out, and I remember I didn't know who the hell they were, but I remember these two guys with with like the band pass on the lanyards, and behind me in the bathroom, like waiting in line to use the head, and
Use the
then
head.
I remember
What are you, a fucking
going home,
sailor? Get out of here.
you know,
So you a
the
marine?
toilet.
It's a latrine, bro.
Uh,
I'm just kidding.
but then I remember seeing like later that night after I got home from the concert,
Oh, dude, no,
some
that's what it was. It was Ozfest 2002. Check it out. So 2002. I'm gonna pause you. Ozfest 2002, right? Is that the year?
mhm,
All right.
I maybe
You say maybe. So in the U.S., Ozzy was playing on the main stage. System of a Down, Rob Zombie, POD, and then Drowning Pool canceled after the death of the lead singer. And that guy basically died. He like alcohol poisoning. He drank and he took some pills and he choked on his vomit, kind of shit.
no, I would have remembered System of a Down. It wasn't System of a Down.
So maybe it
It
was
must have been
2001.
let's see.
Because I remember that
No.
it was my senior year that because that band, had that lead singer not died, they would have come in, like, because they only had their first album, and that one was phenomenal. And then after that they got a new lead singer and they just weren't really the same after that. I mean, it's kind of hard. Like, you could always get another guitarist. There's plenty of talented guitarists and drummers out there, but like, when you have a sound, when you have the vocals and that is your band, it is very hard. Especially imagine you being put on as the lead singer and having to sing like their singles. Like, you have to match that guy. It's kind of hard to do. Let's see. Ozfest 2001. Okay. So we got Black Sabbath, Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, Papa Roach, Linkin Park, Disturbed, Crazy Town, really, Black Label Society, and that's the main
Yep.
stage. And
I
then,
I think that was the one. Um, because yeah, Papa Roach. I remember Papa Roach was there. Uh, I remember. Yeah, I remember Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, Papa Roach, Linkin Park. So yeah, 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 yeah. That was definitely the one.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Those,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You also had Mudvayne. They canceled later. Union Underground, Taproot. Oh my God, that band had so much potential. Taproot, that that band, I totally jam out their shit. Systematic, Nonpoint, Drowning Pool was also there. Spine Shank was another. Dude, there was a lot of those new metal bands that like I don't know why. Like, so backstory about me, I didn't actually listen to a lot of their shit when it was like relevant. And when I mean relevant was like when it came out, because it wasn't until later when I got out of the house and I joined the military and I wasn't like confined to listening to music that like I could buy what I wanted to, listen to what I wanted to, that I actually was like, oh, these guys are good. And they're defunct, they're no longer around. But you also had Hatebreed, American Head Charge, Godhead, OTEP, No
OTAP,
One,
I remember that.
Pure Rubbish, Beautiful Creatures, and Pressure 4-5. So these were all touring in the U.S. But yeah, dude, that's pretty dope lineup.
Coincidentally, though, I was on a trip with my girlfriend at the time, and it was a family vacation, but we were back east in Florida and Georgia, and I had to fly back to do the concert. Did that Ozfest, and then went back, and a few days later they were playing in Atlanta, where we were at as
mm,
well, and I was able to use my pass to finagle my way in. However, I didn't stick around. I just wanted to see if I could do it because the girlfriend at the time didn't want to buy a ticket, and we didn't have the time, and blah blah blah.
mm.
But yeah, good times.
Now I
But yeah, well, anyway, the thing about, well, tying back to Ozzy. So we ran into Ozzy there, and we were told under no circumstance were we supposed to engage any of the artists without being approached. Um,
speaking don't
and so I
speak
didn't
unless
actually talk to
spoken
him.
to, kind of thing.
Pretty much,
Okay.
we were the roadies are the help. You don't engage them. But we just walking him kind of, he he looked like a just a decrepit crazy monkey in the way he kind of shuffled
In 2001,
in 2001.
so
Now this is
19
20
years
fucking years
later.
later,
Yeah.
and like let the poor guy rest. He looked tired. He just, and the thing is, the crazy thing, I don't know what the hell they're giving him, or if it's the souls of children or what. Um, but he had tremendous energy on stage, but backstage it was very
Dude,
different.
you know what? I totally can relate to that, but I mean like I think when it comes to stuff like that, like um I feel like when it comes to celebrities, musicians, I feel like obviously there are other substances at play. You know what I mean? Um and the reason I say that is because there's several instances, not to completely curtail away from what the hell we're talking about, but like where there are people and they are old and then all of a sudden they're on stage and every now and then like I know that you're tired, I get tired, and then when I got to go do something, I dig deep and I find that energy to be who I need to be for that moment, and then afterwards I'm just exhausted, right? um, but I do feel like when you're celebrity status, that there is probably a little bit more help in that department. You know what I mean?
I am not going to level any allegations of any substances. However, it would not surprise me.
So how long were you on the tour? Like
No, it was a day, one show.
you only get to
It
do
was like,
one show
yep,
because
one
they
show. It's a local radio station contest. Like the tour goes around and they have a roadie for a day contest, and
gotcha.
the thing is, most of the winners would just purely, they would. The initial thing was they gave you an armband and just kind of stuck you in the backstage area with all the food and drinks and stuff, and you just kind of hang out back there. But
That's still dope. I don't care if you did it for a day or like the whole tour. Like that's like a Make a Wish Foundation shit right there.
it was pretty awesome. But yeah, the thing is, my buddy and I were, first thing, okay, we got our armband stuff. Like, all right, great. Who do we go? Who do we go work with? Who do we set up? Where do we set up? What do we do? And they kind of looked at us all weird, and um, I'm like, what do you mean? Well, we won. I won roadie for a day. What do I get to do? Well, uh, usually just kind of hang out over here. Well, that's not roadie stuff. That's kind of lame. And so I
Yeah.
was kind of bugging our handler about, well, that sucks. I want to go do something. I mean, well, you can go watch the concert. I fucking flew back across the country for this. I don't want to just watch a concert. And so she took us to the tour manager, and he kind of gave us funny looks and was like, all right. And he ended up giving us like the real badges and stuff so that we could actually walk around to the areas, and assigned us to what's his name? Mo. The guy's name was Mo. He was a big, kind of Samoan looking dude, and I just kind of trailed him and pitched in with him and tried to stay out of his way, but and helped, pack the pyrotechnics for Black Sabbath and Marilyn Manson, and helped unload the gear for Slipknot,
Mm.
and ultimately got, tasked with escorting David Draymond around to meet fans.
That in a nutshell would probably like. I like Disturbed. They wouldn't make my top five just based off of what I listen to. In fact, I will go back and I will drop Trivium for, and I will put on Nine Inch Nails on my top five. I totally ah I can't believe I forgot them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Trent. Please forgive me. Um, but let me backtrack a bit. So, were you a Tool fan by then? Were you into Tool like when you signed up for this roadie shit?
No, well, I wouldn't. hmm, I wouldn't. I'm definitely not as much of a fan um, as I am now. I was a fan, but it really kind of it grew since Lateralis, which had been just released prior to that Ozfest, and the experiences on that concert tour and whatnot were really what kind of drew me in.
So
Um,
it was the live performance that got you, not the studio album.
well, the studio album, I loved it. I mean, I'd seen Tool several times before and seen their shows before, but the Lateralis album itself and the change in their concerts, they kind of took a more Pink Floyd approach at that point.
Now you got to remember, some of the viewers probably watching aren't going to be familiar with like Pink Floyd. What do you mean by Pink Floyd approach?
With the lasers, the psychedelic colors, the images, um, tooling on that tour, they incorporated a lot of sacred geometry and things into their visuals. They I saw them at it was like the Berkeley Community Theater. They had two shows there, and it's like a small venue, like about 5,000 people or something like that. And it was actually on a high school campus. It's like the theater for a high school campus, but they use it for the community theater as well. And it was, I've said this before, I'll say it again. It was the most high I'd ever been in my entire life without taking any drugs at all. Just, it was a mind blowing experience. And
Hmm.
that's, that's what really did it
Have
for
you
me.
have you ever tried running 6 miles before?
I have, and it
Okay.
sucks.
Yeah,
Nothing like that.
that'll get you pretty fucking high. At least it got me pretty
Oh,
fucking high.
well, I wasn't hallucinating and praying for death.
So, something it piques my interest about different people in music is I always ask people when they talk about their bands or what they listen to. I try to get a feel of what people like. Like, so let me give you an example. So if you ask me, you know, what is it about Corn or Breaking Benjamin or Nine Inch Nails? Like, what about their music draws you in? And to me, ultimately, the first thing that draws me in about those artists is like the music itself. I don't like, in a nutshell, the lyrics could be fucking terrible because there are a lot of like Corn songs or Nine Inch Nails songs that I like that aren't hits. You know, they're not They're not played on the radio. They weren't advertised as singles when the albums came out, and I like them. You know, the merit is the music, whether it's the drums, whether it's the lead guitar, whether it's the rhythm, or maybe it's a really groovy bass line, something. So when I listen to music, and I'm coming from a band background, so I started band when I was like, I want to say fifth grade, because in fifth grade it was like recorders, which are lame. But then sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, and ninth grade, it was I played trombone. And even though I only played the trombone, I learned a lot about music. I learned a lot about bass clef, treble clef. I learned a lot about the other instruments. I learned about scales. I learned about harmonics. Um, it's a damn shame that I didn't pursue like a musical career, because I think like I have a natural talent. I did choir when I was in third grade, so I sang, and I played instruments for many years, and then I quit playing in my high school years because I wanted to play football. But to me, when I listen to music, and I think you to an almost absolute certainty are the same way when you listen to like a good song. Yeah, the lyrics are good, whether they rhyme or they don't rhyme, or whether they make sense, or what have you. I think like I'll even call it like purism. Like purism, music in itself is. I remember my band teacher. He just basically said it's called organized sound. That's what music is. It's organized sound. So to me, the first many few years, aside from the fact that I was in choir, because even choir, there's music that you sing off of. We didn't sing acapella. We didn't sing any of that shit. We sang synthesized music off of a fucking iMac or Apple Macintosh. Excuse me. This was back in like 1992, 93, something about then. So I enjoy music for the sound, and I like the drums. I like how the bass goes with the drums, and then I like how the guitars kind of do their own thing. And so, aside from the lyrics, you could take the lyrics out of the song. As long as the music is good, I'm going to enjoy the song, regardless of the artist. But there's a lot of artists I feel that hit it for me particularly, and those would be like in my top five. So I'll ask you, when you listen to your bands, or what drew you to your bands, were you like a singing guy, or were you an instrument guy?
Probably. Well, I mean, it's really a combination of both. But probably more instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in my earlier years, I loved the speed, I loved the force, I loved the feel.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Dave Lombardo from Slayer was just a god with a double kick, and that power, that energy you get from the music.
Mm-hmm.
But it's but the vocals are important as well. Like with Tool, they've got the instrumentals and the music are phenomenal, but then the vocals will come in, and it's like another instrument. So kind of separating that. I don't know, maybe, or do you mean by like the lyrics and the content of the lyrics, or
No, 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 no. I'm saying like, let's say Tool came out with a new song. Okay, Tool came out with a new song. It's a single. It's one song. Um, you listen to the song. What? I mean, obviously you love everything about it, right? Like, let's just say it's a good song. But when you listen to the song, what is making it more of a song for you? Now, yeah, when you talk about the lyrics, it could be like what he's saying, how he's saying it. It could be pitch. It could be rhythm. It could be a lot of things. Um, like, let me give you an example. How about this? So, Disturbed. You listen to Disturbed?
not really?
I mean, you have, you
Yeah, I
have.
listened to their first album, and that was about it.
Okay, but I would say that hands down, and I'm not gonna say this about Tool, but I will say hands down, Dave Draymond vocals make the band. Like it would be very hard, like the way that guy, oh, oh, the way he growls, the way he staccatos his voice, the way that and then he could turn around, he can actually sing. So like he'll do covers of like a lot of '80s songs, and he'll actually sing. and I find that very impressive. Like you listen to metal bands, and a lot of them just growl or they scream, which is good. But in that case, when I listen to those songs, I'm probably listening more for, like you said, like the double kick, like boom, 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 boom. I'm listening to the fucking riffs, you know. Listen to the guys like just shred the guitar. I'm not really listening to the vocals. And when I listen to Tool, as someone that I'm not like enthralled with Tool, I do like quite a few of their songs. They didn't make my top five. They would definitely make my top 10. Uh, when I listen to Tool, I love the instrumentation. I love the drums. I love like the keys because sometimes they have the xylophone. Sometimes they have do they just they there's like it Tool is like one of those bands that's like almost as close to listening to like an orchestra. If you've ever listened to like a symphony performed by like an orchestra, like woodwinds, low brass, trumpets, saxophone, everything combined. Like Tool, like I said, I hardly even listen to what Homeboy's singing about, because I am just so the melody of the music, the way that the guy Danny Carey, you know, and we've shared drummers, and you're just like, well, he's not as good as Danny Carey. And it's like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. The guy's still talented. But Danny Carey is very melodic with his drumming. If you look at like he'll drum on a 1 2 3, he'll skip a 4, skip a 1, and then come on a 2 3 4. Or he'll play like dude is phenomenal, and the way he can do that through 7 minutes of music is genius. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like I actually had to like sit down and like listen to it because, like I said, like me, I'm musically inclined. Like I knew music for like 4 years, not compared to what these guys are, but I can hear like this guy play, triplets and then stop and then play like on the uptick of a triplet and then go into another measure, and it's just incredible, right? And that's why I learned to appreciate him. Okay, so it took me a minute. I'm like, hey, he's a pretty good drummer. He's not a Joey Jordison, but Joey Jordison is a different drummer. So when I'm telling you, when I listen to like a Dave Draymond, like, yeah, their drummer's pretty good. They got good guitarists, but Dave Draymond, like, the beat of the drums would pull me into the music, and then when Dave Draymond sings, like, that seals the deal for me, because Dave Draymond he's a phenomenal singer. Now, to be honest, like I said, I really don't listen to what's his name, who's Tool singer. I don't remember his name.
Maynard James Keenan.
Keenan, right? I don't really listen to him. I don't. I mean, I do, but I don't like. I'm so in love with the melody of the music that they do play, the songs I do enjoy. So when I'm asking you, I just be honest. It's just you and me and a small audience here. When you listen to like a Tool song, what pulls you into the song? Is it are you just all that music in the intro, because they usually play pretty fucking long intros? Are you just waiting to hear Keenan sing, or does the music pull you more into it and makes you, and then so by the time you hear his voice, are you already sold on the song, or are you waiting to hear what he does with the lyrics, what lyrics he uses? Like, I mean, you could say one way or the other. I'm just curious as to how you absorb the music.
It's difficult. It's difficult. I guess it is definitely more the music. However, when he starts singing, again, that's like an additional instrument being, another layer being added to that cake, if you will. It's just, I don't know. You can't really separate them.
I'll tell you this. So when I listen to Tool, I listen to the music. Now, when I was listening to Perfect Circle, I definitely listened to Keenan more than I did the music. There were a couple songs where I was listening to the music, but because it's a different project, because it's a different band, not entirely new band members completely, but it's almost like, think of it if you had like you had this project here and you want to be known as like this badass guy here, but you wanted to explore another avenue. Maybe you always wanted to sing like choir music. I don't know, dude. But you didn't want to ruin your brand as some badass death metal singer. So you wanted to try hitting some higher octaves. You wanted to try singing about something different. So you created a different band. So I can tell you, when I listened to A Perfect Circle, I definitely appreciated Keenan's voice a lot more when he was with A Perfect Circle than he was with Tool. Because Tool, it's not like he was monotonous, but it was just that the music was so hypnotizing to me that I would just, okay, what are you singing about? You're singing about getting raped in prison or something. I don't know. Okay, whatever. This is great music. But then I listened to, Perfect Circle, and he's actually singing. He's actually raising his voice. He's actually, he's breathing. His breathing patterns are different, and I appreciate it more. And I like his projects, and then like when he did the Pucifer, he did a couple albums with Pucifer, he did totally something else different. So once again, I found myself listening more to his voice, kind of like when you listen to Slipknot and what is it, Stone Sour. So you had Slipknot, and Slipknot for the most part is like a metal growling, screaming band, and then occasionally Corey Taylor will break out of the screaming role and he'll sing a little bit, but not often. And then you listen to like Stone Sour, and especially a lot of their newer albums that are which like more pop, it's a lot more singing and it's a lot less like double bass drums, heavy riff guitars, you know. So I say, generally speaking, I listen to the music, but when it comes to like Keenan, I definitely can tell a difference between his projects. And I don't know. What about you? What
Well,
about you? What about you? Go ahead.
he does it differently for the different projects too.
Hmm.
And it's again, I think it for me it really is a combination of the music. What really hooked me was the music and the live shows. You can't beat a live show. And that's actually one of the things that's disappointed me the most and bothered me the most about this whole COVID thing is, and thankfully we actually were able to catch Tool on their last or next to last show before they canceled the tour. But you can't beat the live shows, and that experience is amazing. And that's really what, in my opinion, what Tool is more about is that experience. To go there to have an experience, and then, as Maynard would say himself, to take that moment, go out and do something positive with it. So it's it's a combination. Like you can't, for me anyway, you can't nail it down, or at least with Tool. With some bands, of course, you can say, yeah, yeah, I like their lyrics, or oh yeah, I like the music. Slayer, love the music, um, enjoy the lyrics, but that's not as critical. I'm not, it's drastically different genres. So as far as Tool's concerned, it's not just music, it's not just lyrics, it's not just vocals, it's not just the concerts. It's really the entire experience and the energy that you feel from that.
So is it okay if I shit on Tool fans for just a quick minute? What I did
Well,
know.
of course, I know you're a Nickelback fan, so I know you conveniently left that out of your top five.
they're not even in my top 10. We'll get to Nickelback in a second, but what I was saying was that something I found interesting was that like Tool fans in general, like they're like, I don't know, dude, they're like I don't want to say weird because I don't want to alienate somebody. They're not weird, but I don't know. I met, like, when I was younger, like shortly after I graduated high school. I was I just, I talked to people that listen to Tool, and they're very, I don't know, dude, y'all are fucking patient, man. That's one thing I'll say. Like, how long was it between this album and the fucking? Wasn't it over 10 years?
Oh God, yeah, it was
Dude,
a long time.
could you imagine listening to the same? Was it 4 albums for 10 fucking years? Like they didn't
Ethan.
they didn't break up, right? They just they had lives and they did things
Well, no,
and
a big part of that though was they had some lawsuits and going on about with their old label and things like that. So
for 10 years.
for quite some time, I mean, it's big money.
Yeah, I could just say like when Tool was I'm not gonna say they're irrelevant, but when Tool was like new, like I definitely didn't listen to them. Um, I think at the time like I had first like heard of Tool. I can tell you the bands I was listening to. So I was listening to Disturbed. I was listening to System of a Down. I was listening to now I don't know when their first fucking album came out, but I can tell you when I grew up in my small town of Texas, when my homeboys were still when they were listening to Tool and I still didn't listen to them. Like we were all listening to System of Down, we were listening to Disturbed, we were listening to Linkin Park had just come out. Limp Bizkit was still relevant. Korn was there, and then there was another band. Static X.
Oh, that was the Family Values tour.
Yeah, it was '99. I think was the last one.
I think that was Family Value. I remember that.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I'm saying those were the bands that we were all like, we would go to work together and we would just be like fucking jamming out to, because we had like we worked at Sonic and we had like satellite radio, so we had like direct TV with the so whenever we were on like the late shift, we would like go change like this we would go because you'd actually had to like push the satellite because there was no TV. It was just the satellite hooked up to like the speakers in the back, so you would change it to like that station that, you know what I mean. But yeah, like so they I guess I'm not they basically I guess matured. We'll say matured. I'll take a hit. I don't care. But they matured and they started listening to Tool, and I listened to a couple of Tool songs, but other than like Sober and God, there was another song. Other than those two
Prison
songs,
Sex or Stinkfist, probably the radio songs.
yeah, it was definitely it was a satellite radio, man. So they're playing radio hits. I just didn't get into them, you know. But then there was another band which was funny as I when I joined the army later, and I found this out later. There was a lot of bands that like kind of they draw influence from bands. So you're like, oh, what you're a very popular band, and that Revolver magazine or whatever one of those magazines is like interviewing like we got our influences from Metallica or Slayer or and you kind of see it, but like you ever heard of a band called shit I gotta look up one of their songs before I like let's see. So the band was called Earshot. Did you ever hear Earshot?
Yep.
So Earshot,
Get Away, I think, was their big hit.
that was off their first album. They had quite a few other hits. They weren't a one hit wonder, but I
And
remember
it did the vocalist sound, when I first heard that song, I thought
yes,
it was New A Perfect Circle or something.
yes, exactly. So I remember my roommate at my very first duty station. This was in 2004, and that song came out, and my roommate was a big Tool fan, and he was kind of weird, and I was like, well, that's par for the course. It seems like most Tool fans are weird.
Thank you.
But so I told him, I was like, have you ever heard of Earshot, this guy? And like I told him at probably the worst time. This guy was a heavy drinker. Like he was a borderline alcoholic. I mean, I say borderline because I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose somebody with alcoholism. But this dude, let me just give you a quick synopsis. This guy, like I would get off of work on Friday. He would drink Friday night. He would wake up, and he would drink all Saturday afternoon, and then he'd pass out. And I shit you not, I would have to wake him up Sunday afternoon just to make sure he wasn't dead. And I'd be like, dude, you haven't eaten anything all weekend. So I would like go to the gym Sunday afternoon. I would come back and it was like clockwork. And this guy would have like Papa John's, And so he'd eat Papa John's, and then he'd fucking pass out, right? Here's the worst part, dude. And then Monday morning, when we usually had our, like, fucking long-ass runs, our 6-mile runs, this dude would still whoop my ass, right? Not only would he whoop my ass, there was, like, a sand track that was, like, it was a 1-mile sand track. So imagine running. You're like, oh, cool, I'm running. I'm running on a road. Dude, running in the sand is shit. I don't care what kind of shoes you have. It just... But this dude would still lap me. And as he's passing me, it smells like a fucking brewery. It smells like a distillery. Like, you could smell, in today's army, he would probably get fucking chaptered for, that. But back then, it wasn't that big of a deal. There weren't that many DUIs, or DUIs weren't that big of a deal. So this dude would just show up to PT drunk and then whoop my ass at running. But I showed him this song. And I said, dude, this sounds like your boy, doesn't it? And he got so mad. He's like, he was just, who the fuck is this guy trying to sound like fucking Maynard? Da, da, rah, rah. And I'm like, and I just kind of had a jellyfish. I was like, well, dude, there's bands called Earshot, but yeah, I appreciate Tool. They're not my go-to. There are quite a few songs that, I can't name off the top of my head, but if I were to put together like a single album of Tool songs, 12 tracks, I could definitely fucking pull those out real quick and put them on a YouTube playlist. But let's move on to this Nickelback conspiracy that you have. Let's squash this. Let's squash this. Okay, so
We know you secretly like Nickelback. We suspect that you've got Chad Kroger's signature on your ass. But
so let me explain how, like, I actually came to pass on a lot of the music. So when I grew up, I listened to what my parents let me listen to. So not to drag it out fucking 10 years, but I didn't listen to a lot of Nine Inch Nails, Tool, none of that shit. Like, all that Disturbed shit I listened to, I would either listen at work or, like, after work, I would go to my friend's house for, like, an hour and we'd, like, jam out. Like, just fucking, dude, we're fucking young and dumb and we're not chasing pussy and we're not drinking, so we're just fucking jamming out, dude. And we're playing video games and we're having a good time. And then I go home and then I have to listen to, like, country or, my dad listen. To this day, I still love country. And I like 90s to, like, 2000s country, because I feel like a lot of country nowadays, I know you don't really listen to it, but it's just too fucking poppy, man. It is too poppy, and I've never really liked pop. Okay, so long story short, the way I listen to music is when I got out of the house and I joined the Army and I ran away from home. We're looking like 2003, 2004, 2005. And up until, like, the end of my first deployment, so 2006. So for, like, those first, like, 4 years, counting 2003, 2004, 2005, and the end of 2006, I was buying shit off of Amazon before Amazon was fucking cool, dude. Like, Amazon was a thing. Like, I could look up, like, the first thing I bought off of Amazon was, like, in 2004. It was a CD. So
yeah, I remember when Amazon was just books.
It was books and it was CDs. But yes.
Even before the CDs, just books.
Well, look at you. So I was buying shit off of Amazon before it was cool, when I was having it shipped out to Iraq, and then before then I was having it shipped to Georgia, where I was. So we might have been in Georgia about the same time, huh? 2000. I was there from 2004 to 2006, cutting out a deployment. Were you in Georgia that time?
No, it was 2001 for the Ozfest thing. Was the last time I was in Georgia. No. I went back there one other time when my sister was out there in the hospital, but I don't remember exactly when.
Okay. So what I ended up doing is, like, even Korn. So when I listened to Korn, by the time I started listening to Korn, I couldn't play it in my room. I was listening to their third album. So by the time I got out of the house and I joined the Army, like, I had money. I didn't have bills. So I would buy CDs. So I was like, let me go buy Korn's first CD. Let me go buy Korn's second CD. And then I bought Downward Spiral, and I listened to that. And then I was like, well, shit, let me go buy Pretty Hate Machine, and let me go buy this one. And so I would go and I would listen to, like, a song that was popular. The only band I didn't do that with was Tool, because they just, I don't know, they hit him. So Nickelback was one of those bands. So at the time, Nickelback, the only song I had heard was when I was flipping burgers at Sonic, and that's when they did the soundtrack for Spider-Man. That was a song they did a duet with the dude off of Saliva, which was another good band for a while. You remember Saliva? Click click boom.
The name.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah,
Yeah,
I remember.
that was one of their songs, but they have quite a few other good songs. So I went back and I bought, like, I think it was the Silver Side Up album. It was like their most popular album. Never made it as a blind man, couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing, right? So I bought that album and I liked it. So then and here's what I found. I found that, like, it didn't matter. Like, I bought Korn's first album. Korn's first album was like this shit. It was awesome. Their second album was pretty good. They did like a mashup with some, they definitely changed the genre of new metal. So new metal was like a thing, and then they're singing with like hip hop and rap artists, and they're reverberating their shit, and they're definitely like influencing rock in their own way. So I went and I bought all of Nickelback's albums, and back then, dude, you got to remember too. Excuse me. Back then, you got to remember, like, you didn't have iTunes, really. iTunes wasn't as big as iTunes wasn't big. Was it 2000? My roommate was 2000.
You had Napster.
Well, I didn't even use that shit. Because remember, like Napster, you had to know what you were looking for. I didn't know what I was looking for. So what I would do is I would go on like Amazon, and I would just type in the artist name, and then I would buy the CD. And CDs were like $12.95 back then. Big deal. I don't have any bills. $12.95. I buy a CD, and you listen to like anywhere from 10 to fucking 16 tracks. So I had a fuck ton of CDs, and all I had was time. So you got to remember, like, when I had my first deployment, I was young and I was dumb. So all I did was like do my job, and go to the gym, and then eat and go to sleep and do it again. So all I did was listen to music. So I broadened my horizon. And then as the time went on, obviously, Apple became a thing. Napster kind of went downhill. But I started, I always buy music legitimately. So at some point, when I was in Georgia my second time, I had basically all Nickelback albums, I think, up until Dark Horse, I think. And WoW, you know how WoW is kind of a weird community, right? So this is about the time I started like playing WoW with your bitch ass. So we're playing WoW, and then all of a sudden people hate Nickelback, and like you're in WoW, you kind of want to be cool because you want to be invited to raids, and so I remember watching a video as to like how or why people don't like Nickelback, and it came down to like they basically have like the formula. And what's funny is like people shit on Nickelback for the formula, right? The formula is it's a 3 to 4 minute song. It's all the same time signature, and it's all the same chords, and so this guy like did a video where he like overlapped Nickelback songs, and they were like almost the same song, just different lyrics. And I was just like, now, don't get me wrong. Like, I still like them. They still have some good songs, but like, it's a pretty cheap way to make like Korn. What I respect about Korn is even though I don't like them as much as I did, like every single Korn album was fucking different. In fact, the one of the Korn albums that I enjoyed the most was did you hear when they actually went to like dubstep? Did you hear the album they brought on a bunch of dubstep artists? And so
I had pretty much stopped listening to them by then, but I thought
mm-hmm.
that was just Jonathan Davis, not under the Korn
No,
name.
that was Korn. It was oh my gosh. Let's see.
And I pretty much stopped listening to them after Issues.
Oh wow, dude. Really? So
Yeah.
the album was called Path of Totality, and that was to 2011. So that's kind of like when dubstep came over from like the European lands, the UK specifically, and they started mashing up. So I respected Korn because Korn, none of their albums are particularly the same, but it just got to a point where like the music, like remember I'm like an instrumentation guy, so the instrumentation was terrible. It was just like they lost Head for a little bit, and then they lost
Well, he found Jesus.
well, and then he
You
came.
can't mock somebody for finding Jesus.
No, they lost him. I'm not mocking him. And then he talked shit about the band, and then they made the album called Untitled, where they wrote a couple songs talking shit back to him, and then eventually he came back to Korn, but they had lost the drummer, David Silvera. He
Yep.
like yeah, so they lost him. David Silvera wasn't like
Or Silveria, I think.
Silveria, yeah. He wasn't an insane good drummer, but he fit like his drumming style definitely contributed to their music. And so the new drummer they got, I'm not saying he's bad, he's just not Korn. It's like when I listened to Avenged Sevenfold, and they had the Reverend, he committed suicide. The songs after him, like the last album was Nightmare album. You can
Well,
tell.
let me interject.
Oh, go ahead.
Can you find? Is there any band that you can name that is as good as the original singer?
Wait, what?
Like they replaced or they replaced somebody in the band and they're as good as they were with their lineup. Actually, take that back because I can think of a handful of them off the top of my head
Oh
right
no no
now.
no no. Avenged Sevenfold had you know who's the drummer for like what is it fuck the drummer they had for Nightmare to fill in when that guy, he was a rental drummer. He did basically half of the songs were already written by the Avenged Sevenfold drummer. He was the Dream. Oh, what is that band called?
Dream Theater,
Dream Theater. That drummer,
Mike Portnoy.
Mike Portnoy. Thank you. That guy drummed the entire album. Half of the songs were written by the Reverend, and he nailed it. He nailed his songs, and then he nailed the songs he drummed. But then again, that guy is a phenomenal drummer. And then they picked up a guy for their Hail to the King album, and that guy, even though he wasn't like good, like you listen to that album, and he's exactly what they needed. And then they went and they got this guy named Brooks Wackerman, and I don't really care for that guy. But can I name a guy? Can I name a band that they replaced like Metallica? They replaced the fucking guitarist, and the rest is history.
Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, yeah, he went to Megadeth, and they replaced him, and they had nothing but
I
success after him.
Well, okay, one that had releases then prior. Although I can think of
He
some
had
though,
they
like
had
Iron
they had
Maiden.
they had two albums before they kicked out Dave Mustaine.
No, they didn't. They just had their demo.
No, he did. Wasn't he in the album Justice for All?
No, Dave. No. Okay, are you thinking of the bassist?
Oh no, I'm thinking of Dave Mustaine, the guy that went to Megadeth.
No, Dave Mustaine left Metallica before Kill 'Em All was released.
Hold up. I mean, I'm gonna fact check you. Because
Go ahead and fact check me. Don't challenge me on that shit.
let's see, band members timeline.
In fact,
So
when Metallica had their Load album come out, which they should have called Load of Shit, but anyhow, they had one of those like Metallica trivia contests at this bar, and it was terrible because even the answers that they had were wrong, and the guy who was hosting it was a huge Metallica fan. They asked a question like, "Who was Metallica's first bassist?" And everybody, the answer that they were provided was Cliff Burton, but no, the Metallica's first bassist was not Cliff Burton.
hold on a second. So Dave Mustaine, early member of Metallica, co-wrote several songs. So he wrote the songs, but he didn't make the live recordings. Okay, so
Right. And
so
that was
he
actually
was
there's a
there.
reason.
Well, go ahead.
Well, there is some pushback. I think Metallica was trying to re-release the EP No Life to Leather. But they couldn't get permission from Dave because Lars wanted like author credits on several of the songs, and Dave pushed back saying you didn't do shit for these songs and refused.
Mm-hmm.
So if Lars had just sucked it up um, and accepted the fact that he wasn't the musical genius behind all that stuff, then they could have released No Life to Leather, or re-released No Life to Leather, I should say.
Right.
But
Well,
yeah, no. Iron Maiden though, I guess is the easy one to say because Bruce Dickinson really made the band. Um, and even Tool, Justin replacing Paul was good. So I take back what I was going to say, that bands can't be as good when they replace somebody.
well, no,
But
I think something you said earlier in the discussion was that when they change, and I think there's like I think there's a certain amount of change that's acceptable. Like if one album you're just hard, and then the next minute everybody in the band found Jesus, I don't think that is something that will sell over your fans. But something Korn was very, very good with up until uh, what was that? It was a fucking they did like a Metallica. Remember when Metallica went back and they did Saint Anger and it was just trash? Korn did the same thing. Like Korn went back and they tried to make like a garage band type sound like they did on their first album, and they failed miserably. And I think part of that was because obviously the drummer was different, and I don't know if they got Brian Welch back, but
I think
that
he's back in the band.
well he is now, but I don't know for that album if he was back. But
Oh,
I can tell you that after that album, they had the Path of Totality album, which they still had Fieldy playing bass. They still had Jonathan singing, and they still had Head. So they had like what they needed, and then they went and they mashed up a bunch of dubstep songs with a bunch of you know popular dubstep artists at the time, and it was fucking phenomenal. And Follow the Leader, which was that was their breakout album. Like there was nothing about that album that met like the status quo of like a metal rock band. They had a lot of mixing in there. They had a lot of artificial sound. There was just so much, and that album was phenomenal. And their second album, that was a lot of hip hop influence. That one was phenomenal. And then their first one was like where they started it, and it was all just grungy, uh, out of the fucking garage, metal band. So I will say without a doubt that Korn is one of those bands that has subtly changed their sound throughout the years and was still successful. But I don't know.
are they still considered really successful at this point?
I
I
no
mean,
no
they've
no no
got
no no
money.
no 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 no. I don't think they're platinum anymore. Like what's they just released an album, and I think if they're platinum, it's like it's the die hard fans. It's like those die hard Tool fans that wait. Corn albums by
Well, their
sales.
last platinum album was "See You on the Other Side" in
That
2005.
and that was a two part. That was a two disc album actually.
Um, in my opinion, their last good album was "Issues." Untouchables, I had gotten an early release copy and was just sorely disappointed.
Untouchables went platinum. Take a Look in the Mirror went platinum. See You on the Other Side went platinum. Untitled went gold. Remember Who You Are, nothing. The Paradigm Shift, now that one, the first half of that album was phenomenal. That was like the Corn that you needed. So if you got some time, the Paradigm Shift, like the first 6 or 7 tracks, that one went silver. And then you have Serenity of Suffering, and then nothing. Like I haven't even listened to either one of those albums. I listened to a single off Serenity of Suffering, and I was really not. So what I'm saying is, up until and so you had two things going on. You had them losing band members, and then you had them changing their style. But I think it is possible for you to change a style because, dude, times change. I want you to think of Pink Floyd in the '70s compared to Pink Floyd in the late '80s and the '90s. Totally two different Pink Floyds, and
Yes,
they were
definitely.
still fucking great.
And even in like yes, since we just touched on progressive rock, um, the Yes '80s years were dramatically different, which is why there are lineup changes and whatnot as well. But and yeah,
They had lineup changes.
oh yeah,
Oh,
they had
I
lineup changes, and they had a one back in '91 or '92. They kind of all got back together and did the album Union, and then did a tour with like all the different musicians from the different lineups and stuff. They all came together and did it, but reports are that nobody got along and it ended up kind of falling apart mid tour. I'm really really bummed about that. Actually, I remember flying out to Vegas to visit with my grandfather, and the Yes concert was in my hometown like the night I was leaving, so I couldn't go to it. And then they were playing in Vegas the night I was flying back to my hometown, so I missed that whole tour, and I was pretty bummed. But I've gotten to see Pink Floyd a couple times, so there's that.
let me rewind it back because I actually didn't get like your background. So when you were growing up in the house,
Yep.
whether you were listening to what your parents listened to or secretly listening to what you want, what were your initial tastes like when you could understand music and what you liked? What were you listening to? Teenage years, Darien teenage
When I
years.
first started, I mean, I grew up in a very religious household that no rock music kind of thing. So I listened to um well whatever my parents have to be listening to, and which was whatever the soothing sounds of the '70s kind of shit. Um, I remember doing a school project about like how music affects plants, and the one that listened to pop music did
What?
the best.
No.
And I suspect the reason for that was because that was the room that all the other plants were kind of sequestered in their little cubbies, but the only one that got any extra CO2 from somebody being around was the one that was
Oh.
pop music. So I do think that experiment was a little bit skewed.
Yeah, there
But
was definitely no control for that at all.
when I was listening to when I started making my own musical choice, it was metal.
How old?
Early Anthrax,
How old were you then?
uh, 12,
So
12,
where are you
13.
listening to Anthrax? Obviously not in the house, or not out loud.
Out and about on my Walkman
You had a Walkman.
thing.
I'm
Yeah,
jealous. I'm
I had a
jealous of.
Walkman.
I did not have a Walkman.
I mean, it was one of those big ass ones that with a cassette tape, but yeah, listen to a Walkman. Um, had a bunch of stuff like that. Early Anthrax was one of my favorites. Actually, I take that. Anthrax probably was the first one that really hooked me, and I was really into it. And I think it was because of their song "I Am the Law," because I was into comic books and Judge Dredd was my favorite, and they had that song, and that really got me into Anthrax, which then kind of went down that whole road. I was quickly into Iron Maiden and then Metallica and so on.
It's like
My first
that
Slayer
ego
concert was
war.
when I was 13.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
So
whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so how the hell did you get out of the house to go to a Slayer concert in a super
with
religious?
friends. By the time I was that age, I was pushing back, and my mom, fortunately, was uh, helpful
A little
with
liberal.
uh, with letting me kind of express myself and hang out with friends. I was involved with this like medieval reenactment group, which really for me was just a place to be able to escape and be around other people. And I went with one of the guys from that group that I had met, and it was at this little fucking club in Sacramento, El Dorado Saloon, and he had that guy. He was a guitarist, and he actually gave me copies of a lot of the stuff I listened to. But like, oh, you're gonna love this. You like Metallica, you're gonna absolutely love this shit, and blah blah blah. And that's how I was introduced to Slayer and became one of my absolute fucking favorites. Shit, man, I've got a Slayer shirt that's older than my wife. So,
I think yeah, I remember you telling me that. I
but
have
yeah,
I have a couple T-shirts that are older than people I have dated, so I'm right there with you.
but
So
yeah,
you grew
that
up.
that was my experience. That's how I got was exposed to metal and
Well, what
and
about
just it.
so when you grew up, you listened to when you say did you listen to did you listen to country? Did you listen to classical music? Did you listen to oldies? Like what you had mentioned was 70s, so you're listening to
Like
70s
'70s stuff,
in
yeah,
like the 90s,
'60s,
right?
'70s. No, dude, that was in the '70s and '80s.
Okay.
So so and by the time '90s rolled around, I was out and listening to whatever the fuck I wanted.
Mm.
But yeah, it was like stuff like Olivia Newton-John. Um, I think
The mamas and the
the first
papas.
concert, yeah, Mamas and Papas. But the first concert I ever went to was actually a country one. It was Johnny Rodriguez, which I don't can't couldn't tell you the name of any of his songs at this point, but I know that my mom was a fan. Um, and then I think I saw my cousin's band or my mom's cousin's band, which had put out an album or two or something. I can't remember what they were called. The Midnighters, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, growing up, there was nothing like that. So when I started in my early teen years, my tween years, is when I started sneaking my own music and things like that. Good
So
times. Yeah.
at what point? Because I mean, I feel like everybody gets to that point. To me, it was way bit later. At what point did you find yourself just spending a large amount of your income on music? Because I grew up in a similar situation as you, where there was really like there was Napster, but like when did you find yourself just dropping a lot of money on CDs to like increase your music library?
I mean, probably my high school years, but um, even earlier than that, they had this. Well, it was tapes first of all, but
Okay,
I
yeah.
remember my first CD player I got when I was in high school, and my first CD that I got was Iron Maiden's Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and it was a quote unquote portable CD player, but it was about the size of two bricks, side by side, and weighed about the same. Um, but
Okay.
before the CDs, they had this thing at Tower Records where you can go in there and like pick songs and it would record it onto a tape. So I used to do that a
So
lot,
they would
and it
essentially
was
make you like a mixtape.
pretty much, yeah.
Nice.
So you could like pick the top hits that you wanted. I can't remember the name of the service. Somewhere I know I got that tape stashed in a box in my storage or something along those lines. But it was a really neat thing because you pay $2 a track or $1 a track and record it to a cassette tape, and then you take that cassette tape home. You didn't have to sit there on the listening to the radio with a tape in the deck ready to hit
Ready to
record as
hit
soon as your favorite
record.
song came on,
Yeah.
and then get pissed off because the DJ guy was
Yes.
yammering
Talking
all through the
during.
intro.
Yes. Oh my gosh, dude. So like when I actually started to like, cause my mom listened to like Motown, so she listened to like shit that was on a 45. She also listened to country. She also listened to gospel. But like I got more into like I listened to my mom's music because my mom made me like dance with her. So I would have to like I learned how to two step and how to slow dance with my mom. But like my dad's music was the one that I would steal the cassette tapes. Like I would get in trouble because he had. Remember back then, like I don't. I'm gonna assume it was. Remember how cassette tapes were kept in like the little briefcases. You like pull the
Yep.
briefcase open and there was like. So I would go in there and I would borrow his Boston tape, or I would borrow a Pink Floyd tape, because like my grandfather gave me a big ass boombox with a double cassette, and it was really nice, and it plugged in, or it ran on like fucking 6D batteries. Um,
I actually remembered one thing.
mm,
The introduction that I had actually was through my uncle, and basically, he listened to the rock of the time, and I remember Blue Oyster Cult's Godzilla, and I was huge into like the monster movies and Godzilla when I was a kid, and we were driving one time that song came on, and I was super excited, and then couldn't wait to whenever to go for drives with my uncle,
mm-hmm.
because I after he graduated college, he came and moved in with us and whatnot. But
I
so that
I
actually I guess was the first introduction to rock music for me.
I didn't have uncles like so my dad. I'm gonna rag on my dad for a little bit. My dad, like, I got lost in my time. I think about 2010. I really haven't really listened to anything after that. Like I'll pop in, I'll hear some good songs, but like my dad, like he never listened to 80s rock. He was not a big 80s rock guy. Like if there was any 80s rock I listened to, it was like rock pop, and that was because like my mom had some tapes, you know. But my dad, to this day, I guarantee you, if I go over there and I go through his records, his vinyls, as the kids call them nowadays, or I go through his tapes, like he's got like Doobie Brothers. I listen to like all them shits. He's got like some Blue Oyster Cult, not a lot. He's got Boston. He's got Pink Floyd. He's got the Rolling Stones. Oh God, does he have the Rolling Stones? And I mean, there's so many of them in there. And so when it came to like a lot of my friends are like, oh, you never listen to Metallica, you never listen to. It was like, well, dude, like the one guy that listened to rock, that was like my influence with rock, didn't listen to. And I asked him, I said, I eventually asked him, I was like, oh, why didn't you listen to like Bon Jovi's kind of like Nickelback, right? Would you say that that's like an equivalent? Bon Jovi is kind of like the Nickelback of that time.
Probably.
Yeah.
I remember when Young Guns 2 came out, a bunch of us went to the movie just to as an early kind of troll. Well, not that it mattered because the theater got their money,
Yeah.
but we went to see that, and Bon Jovi was like in there as an extra, as the first guy killed. And as soon as he was killed, we all stood up and walked down and said, "Yep, that was worth it." Just loud, announced that and kind of walked out.
So he didn't listen
But
to he didn't listen to Bon Jovi, and I even asked him. I said, dude, I remember asking him like a couple years ago. I was like, why didn't you ever? Because like I said, like I have come into my music like late. I'm a late bloomer, and it was oh my god, Def Leppard. I was like, why didn't you listen to Def Leppard? And he kind of looked at me and he's like, that was like, I was like, dude, I was like, bro, I don't know what you called it back then, but nowadays we call those like panty droppers, man. Like you put that fucking music on and the panties just come off, man. Like women women love that music. Like, dude, you could probably go to like a fucking Def Leppard concert, find some like, I mean, if you wanted to, you could probably, what is this, 2020? So back in the 80s plus 40s, so maybe they're like in their 50s, maybe. If you're looking for some 50-year-old booty, you would just go to a Def Leppard concert and the music plays and the panties drop, and
now, dude, Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart was where it was at.
well, my mom listened to a little bit of Rod Stewart, so let me give you. My mom listened to a lot of Beatles. She listened to a lot of country. She listened to like 90s country. She listened to a lot of gospel. So like all the black gospel singers, like she listened to all of them. She listened to like the Motown classics, and she listened to the dude. I actually have like a real found respect for um, Daryl Hall and John Oates. You ever listen to them?
Hall and Oates.
Hall and Oates, man, dude. Like those
I
guys, dude. They have so many fucking bangers out there. So my mom listened to a lot of 80s pop. My dad didn't do shit. Like he didn't really listen to the 80s. The only 80s that he really listened to was Pink Floyd, which I still appreciate him for, because Pink Floyd made a lot of, good music in the 80s. But he didn't get into Metallica, he didn't get into Slayer, he didn't get into He didn't get into metal, you know. So, uh, me finding out about Metallica in the '80s was way past that. Me finding about anybody in the '80s, like he does have some Black Sabbath, not a lot. I think the Black Sabbath he has is relegated to like early '80s, and that's it. So he definitely drew his line early. He was like, after this, there's not good rock. Like the rock has died. And I've even tried. I've like, hey man, check out this song. Check out this song. And he just doesn't like it. You know, so I'm saying like I kind of drew my line at about 2010. So everything my dad listened to, everything that like because I listened to oldies because remember I told you I was in choir. We actually sang a lot of oldies. So I listened to a lot of 60s oldies, 70s oldies, and then, you know, Mamas and Papas, um, Motown, all that shit, you know, through a multicultural household growing up as a kid. But I just I never got to listen to the good shit until I moved out of the house, and then I was like, yo, this is a good Nine Inch Nails album. Let me go buy another one. Oh my god, this one was kind of good. Let me go buy another one. And so me learning about music, I learned a lot about music after the fact, versus like when it was. And but I don't think I could have handled it, dude. I was already listening to so much other shit. Like I guarantee you, if there's like a '90s country song that comes on the radio, like I'm probably singing it, and you're probably looking at me like I'm fucking crazy. Like like what are you doing? I'm like, dude, this is a good song, you know, and I'm singing it. It's a fucking banger. And then like maybe some fucking Slayer comes on and you're fucking singing it, playing some air guitar, and I'm just like, oh okay, well I'm happy.
Screaming, it's more accurate.
Yeah, but I'm happy that you got to live it in the moment. I didn't really live a lot of metal and rock in the moment until I moved out of the house in like 2003, 2004. You know what I mean?
It was definitely a different scene back then, and I look back fondly at that. You know, the concerts were better. Um, Man, I miss fucking concerts. The concerts,
When was the last concert you went to? You said it was
Tool,
what year? Which year?
this year, like just before
2000.
the virus lockdown.
Oh, was that the same? I saw an article where there was a dude that went to a Tool concert. The dude knew he had COVID, and he went to a Tool concert anyway.
I did not see that article, but
Oh, that was a while ago. I remember seeing that, and I was just like, "Well, that fucking blows,
well, there
dude."
are only a handful of concerts in the United States since COVID,
This
so
was
I don't.
shit. Let me pull up the Googles. Uh, March 6th. So Tool concert attendee in New Zealand. So obviously you weren't affected, unless somebody
Yeah.
from like the roadie crew got it. And when did you go?
Um, it was in March, but I don't recall the specific date.
Bro,
Um,
bro.
I just know it was one of their last. It was one of their last shows.
Mm. I do take my dad's rock knowledge into consideration, and what he told me was, you know, because he was in the military too. He said the best live concert he had ever gone to, and I don't know how many he's gone to since or after that, but he said the best one he ever went to was a Boston concert because it genuinely sounded like the and you know what, dude? Sometimes you go to a live recording and it sounds nothing like a studio recording, but it does sound pretty fucking good, right? Because it's live. But he said Boston did the best live concerts because it sounded a lot like their studio recording.
Boston's one of the bands that I never got to see live, and am really bummed about that because since Brad Delp died, there's there's no way. I mean, I think they've done stuff with other singers, but it's not the.
Well, I don't care what you say. Boston is one of those bands where if I go to a karaoke joint, I am picking more than a feeling. Now, Sometimes I can nail that song, but
we might have to do a stream karaoke sometime to see if you can do that.
dude, we
I don't believe you can hit that note.
what?
No, I don't.
All this booze on the shelf says I can hit it. They all
All
think
right, all right, folks, you heard it right here. Jake's gonna try to prove that he can sing like Brad Delp.
I just just one song, and the only other song that like so usually I try to pick carefully. I try to pick my songs within my octave. Uh, you listen to Linkin Park, obviously, right? And you know what's funny?
No, I don't.
As much shit as you give me about Linkin Park, when I first started playing WoW, all my friends gave me shit about listening to Linkin Park because like my headphones were so loud they could hear it bleed on the microphone, and they'd be like, "Are you listening to?" And they would clown the shit out of me for listening to Linkin Park, but fuck them. Linkin Park was a pretty solid band, but it was that Transformer song they did. There are times
I
there.
don't know. I
Oh,
know like a couple of songs of Linkin Park that were on the radio, but I don't even listen to the radio much. I pretty
I
much would just listen to my own CDs or
yeah.
whatever.
They did a song for I think it was the first Transformer movie, and you know how Homeboy is. He really gets up there and he fucking screams like ah, and it's just like if I have the right amount of fucking phlegm in my vocal cord, I can hit it. If not, it gets pretty bad pretty fast. So, but
Well, that's
um,
about our time.
that is about our time. So any final thoughts
So
there, Mister Drake?
I think obviously as far as music goes, everybody's gonna have different tastes and be drawn to something for different reasons. Um, I've always been a fan of music and the medium, the way it can communicate. You can, there's that saying, "Music soothes the savage beast," kind of thing. Well, it's there's truth to that. Music can connect with somebody on levels that you wouldn't expect. Um, maybe next time I'll tell the story of how a Metallica tape got me through a border checkpoint crossing in from Venezuela to Brazil. But don't have time for that right now.
I kind of agree with you. I feel like music. We spent a majority of it talking about rock and metal, but I feel like music transcends like cultural norms. I've met
It
people.
does.
I've met people that uh, they were maybe a particular background and they happen to, oh man, I love that band, and you're like, yo, for real, you like them? Or myself, I have listened to a lot of like rap too, which I didn't address any of that because we'd be here for like another hour. But when I'm like at the gym or I'm like singing a song and they just kind of look at me kind of weird because maybe I know the lyrics to a particular song, a Jay-Z song, a DMX song, something like that.
Or
Um,
maybe you look like that guy in Office Space, rapping along because you look fairly white.
what I'm saying is like the cool thing about music is like music, it has a weird way of like tribally creating a, because like what do you buy, what do you share with people besides like a workplace, maybe like a sports team or something else, right? I don't know. There's some commonalities that people find, but like when you're in a work environment or you're somewhere, maybe you're at a concert and you're fucking like head banging, all of a sudden you turn and there's a dude who, and I meant to bring this up earlier, but like do you listen to Rammstein?
A little bit.
So Rammstein sings most of their songs in German. And I've seen videos on the internet where they go to fucking Brazil and they're fucking singing a song in German and they speak Portuguese in fucking Brazil, and these kids are singing along in German, and they probably know what the lyrics mean. Like music is almost like, it's weird. It's weird how it works. Like some people's brains think differently or they click differently and they like this kind of music. but there's other people from different parts of the world whose brains click the same way and they love the same kind of music. And it's like when in that moment you find somebody that's not like you, right? Like if you ran into another, you in the crowd, you would just be like, all right, man, rock on. But if you ran into a you that was like from fucking Mars and had purple skin and he was like jamming out to some fucking Slayer or some Tool, you'd be like, yo, you're like, yo, you like this shit? I fucking like this shit. Yo, dude, did we just become best friends? Boom. You know what I mean? That's something I always found cool about music. I found like just the fact that it crosses, cultural bounds, crosses all
That
sorts of
that
people.
is something that I've always wanted to do is go to a concert in Rio de Janeiro because those people know how to fucking do concerts.
Oh God.
Cramming 500,000 people in an arena to see Iron Maiden or whoever,
Right.
that would be amazing.
Yeah. It would be. And you don't know Portuguese, and they don't know very much English at all. And you
I survived when I was down there that last time.
oh you see
Although that was,
oh man, look at you, you look at you.
I told you, man. I used Metallica cassette tape to essentially, I guess, technically bribe a border guard. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't trying to bribe him. I was just like, yeah, go ahead, you can have it.
Oh God. Yeah, dude, that's the one thing I can appreciate about music. But yeah, we're gonna get out of here. We're a little bit over time, but thanks for tuning in. Tomorrow, or excuse me, next weekend. I apologize. We're gonna have another topic where we're gonna sit here and we're gonna chat about it. At some point, we're gonna go live, so you'll be able to like blast us on the live stream. We may not pay attention to you, but you'll be there. But
You can try to make Jake show his Nickelback tattoo on his ass.
dude, you see nothing but white skin back there. I'll be
I
honest.
know. Does that get you banned from YouTube and Twitch anyway?
If I'm a
Dude,
male, yes. If I was a female, probably not. Probably get me like I'd probably get suspended for like 24 hours or something like that.
I don't know. 24-hour suspension might be worth it to get you to show your ass on camera.
I mean, I would think so too, because we only stream once a week. We only go live once a week, so.
Yeah, no shit.
But I'm signing off. I'm Jake,
And I'm Drake.
and we'll catch y'all next week.
Have a good one.